Hi, Ajith.
Hey, Monu, how are you?
I'm fine. Nice to see you, Ajith.
Pleasure is all mine.
the For all the daily brunch viewers or readers, so to speak, on the portal, this is Ajith Nayar. Okay. The beauty of this Zoom in conversation today is that we have gone international. Normally, we do all the Indian persons on thing. We had done Griffith David, CEO of Habanero Foods. Then we had Hrish Tota, digital influencer of India, the week before that. But this time, I've got you a big fish, so to speak. Okay, Ajith basically is. Ajith, allow me to introduce you to our readers and viewers. Ajith is basically, he calls himself a hospitality and travel technology veteran of about 25 years. He has been a strategic advisory to technology consultant services of industrial giants like Marriott, Starwood, McDonald's, Burger King, Yum restaurants. Also to cruise companies like cruise liners Royal Caribbean, and he's also been with the Department of Tourism, Kerala government. But more importantly, when I had met Ajith a long time back in Bangalore, he was just with Micros Fidelios based in Australia, traveling around the world, spending a lot of, that is what interested me with Ajith so many years ago. But now we are lucky to have you on board, Ajith, because you are in Dubai. I think you just finished your GITEX workshop at the Dubai Travel Mart. So welcome aboard in conversation. Go ahead. How did you land up in Dubai? Tell us about that now. Yeah.
Landing up in Dubai, actually, this is my second stint in Dubai, Monu. I initially started my career here a long time back. You were laughing when you said veteran. So let me tell you, I actually first landed up here in way back, 95, as soon as I graduated from hotel school, or actually about 6-7 months after hotel school, to work with Micros Fidelio. I actually started my career with Micros Fidelio here in Dubai.
In Dubai? Oh, wow. Okay.
With the local reseller called Key Information Technology. Okay. At that time, the Middle East was kind of opening up and booming. And literally every major hotel chain was kind of moving into this region, specifically the Gulf Cooperation Council and the larger Middle East North Africa region. Okay. So I used to go from hotel to hotel, implement solutions, train people, and then move to the next country. So I've been fairly fortunate that way to have covered a fairly large part of this particular geography, with experiences from Yemen, wow. Where I commissioned hotels in Sana'a and Sheba, to the Walid ibn Talal Sheraton Hotel in Ethiopia, which was inaugurated by the king of pop, Michael Jackson himself.
Wow. And for the readers, just a brief, if you remember, Micros Fidelio is a hardware and software combined, purely designed for the hospitality industry. Am I correct?
That is correct. That is correct.
Great. Now, you are now in Dubai with a startup, artificial intelligence, big data, visual impression company called CAMCOM. So where did you get the idea of CAMCOM, and how did you get the startup award? All over the place, and then now you're in Dubai. So please tell us about that.
Okay, first and foremost, I should lay it on the table and tell people and your viewers that for me, Java is still good coffee. It has got nothing to do with technology.
I will stand by you on that because I don't know the other side. Okay, good one.
Yeah, for the simple reason that I don't write a single line of code. I absolutely do not write a single line of code. I've never felt it necessary to learn to write a single line of code. Okay. What I understand is convergence, the ability to put technology to work in a business scenario and then subsequently derive benefits from it. Okay. Which I think is essentially what is my strength. And the reason for that is thanks to Micros Fidelio, because if I had, as a hotelier, stayed back in a hotel and I, over a period of time, worked myself way through, I probably would have been the general manager, hopefully, touch wood, of a hotel, or if not at a corporate position in a hotel chain. But what I understood, having worked with the likes of Micros Fidelio, is that technology gives you an eagle's eye view of the business, which essentially means the solution that you roll out, when you have it's like a domino effect. A change that I put in my software has worldwide repercussions. So
Okay.
which essentially gave me a eagle's eye view of the larger hospitality industry. And at the risk of sounding immodest, the reason why people like us essentially exist in many ways and to a certain extent are also appreciated is because we bring in an outside in perspective of the larger hospitality business per se, as opposed to being in a silo where I'm essentially looking after the operations of one hotel, or let's say clusters, or if not a geography, or if not at the highest level. But I know that the smallest change that will happen at, let us say, a point of sale system that resides in the outlet of a restaurant within a five-star hotel,
Mm-hmm.
the chain events, the chain reaction that happens all the way through, that is what a company like Microsoft really taught me. And that is when I understood that convergence is something that I really understand. So to come back to your question with regards to the whole genesis, so to speak, of CAMCOM,
Mm-hmm.
about 4 years back, I was at that time working for a company called Augury. I was vice president with them. And it was a augmented reality, virtual reality platform on a mobile device.
Okay. Okay.
Fantastic technology.
Mm-hmm.
And they were the pioneers. And I was very happy to be associated with them as well.
Mm-hmm.
I was flying from Bangalore to Mumbai to on Go Air. I still remember that very clearly.
Mm-hmm.
And I was just perusing their in-flight magazine,
Okay.
and there was an article that was written about Instagram and the amount of pictures of food and beverage that were being put up on Instagram by people.
Mm-hmm.
And presumably, the longest surviving hashtag on Instagram is hash food porn. So,
Oh, really? Wow.
yes.
Okay. Okay.
And I was like, okay, if people are going completely nuts about food and beverage, how come nobody has figured out a way to monetize all this content that is being put up?
Correct.
And that kind of got me thinking. And I had subsequently worked in Wipro Technologies, as you know,
Okay.
and I had set up many labs for them. I had essentially created a lot of solutions for the hospitality industry. And one technology that I'd come across during that time is a subset of artificial intelligence called computer vision, which is the ability to use cameras to essentially create actionable intelligence.
Okay.
Um, I looked at it and said, there has to be a way in which something can be done about it. I did a little bit of research. And as you know, one of my part-time, things that I get off on is psephology. So I love research. I love data.
Yeah.
So
By the way, viewers, sorry to interrupt, Ajit. You should know that Ajit is driven by a lot of passions, one of which is psephology. Okay, go on.
So I started doing what I do, which is essentially I took all that data, I started crunching it, and I said, okay, there was nobody there in the market. There has to be a way to do it. And I came across a young coder
Okay.
who at that time was had just put in his papers in Augury. And I said, listen, dude, this is my two-line brief to you. I want to be able to click a photograph of any food or beverage item. The system should identify what food and beverage it is, and I should be able to get right then and there. Meaning, if I am sitting in a restaurant, I know, Monu Bhai, that you love your Old Monk and Coke. So when
Mm-hmm.
I'm sitting in, let's say, Watson's, and I'm having my Old Monk, I will forever remember you, because we have always bonded over that. And what
Right.
would be better than that for me to just click a picture of the glass that I'm having the Old Monk in,
Okay.
and immediately pay for it, send it to you, and say, "Monu bhai, this Old Monk is on me at any Watsons."
Wow.
So I took that idea. Pramod, the young boy who created it for me, he essentially, I gave him 2 months. He came back to me in, I think, 15 days. And he said, here you go. And I said, awesome. Well, of course, it was a prototype. And I had my boss during my time in Wipro, his name is Umesh.
Umesh.
He had left and become CEO of AnswerSource in India.
Okay.
And always, we have been talking about becoming entrepreneurs again. He had been an entrepreneur just before dot-com bust, and he cashed out. And as you very well know, I was an entrepreneur during the same era and lost a shirt on my back. So we had kind of complementary skills.
Yeah, okay.
And as usual, like the genesis of any decent startup worth its name started on the back of a napkin in a bar. So I took a pen and paper. I told him this is what I figured out, and Umesh, I reckon, took a leap of faith, and he said, Ajit, I agree. Let's do it. And he put in his papers.
Wow.
And I put in my papers, and we said, okay, let's find a place. And we picked up an incubation center run by the IMAI in Diamond District in Bangalore.
Okay.
And we three of us moved in there and said, okay, let's go ahead and get this done. So we did quickly. We tied up with Smooth Chocolates. Vimal Sharma is a good friend. So I requested him to whether he would give us a chance to use his outlets as the kind of a beta site. And he said, by all means. So the idea there was, okay, we essentially created a visual database of all the products that were sold by Smooth. And Smooth is a high-end, as you know, gourmet chain.
In between, for the readers, I'm sure you all know Smooth Chocolates. If you're going to a Bangalore airport, any airport, you'll find the chocolate stall or the pop-up outside. That's a Smooth Chocolate. Go on, Ajit.
So the beauty of it was that we could go in there. You could go into a Smooth outlet. Whatever is it that you were eating, you could click a picture if you wanted to gift it to somebody. We would, since it has been geofenced, we know exactly which outlet you're sitting in. And you click a picture, you make the online payment, and you could WhatsApp that picture itself to whoever you wanted to gift it to. And that person in turn could essentially go ahead and provide the address to which it could be delivered, or it could be redeemed at the outlet itself the next time you're there. So
Okay.
fairly simple idea.
Yeah.
And we went with it. Typically entrepreneurs, when inspire idea, the eureka moment are like horses with blinkers, and we normally don't see beyond that.
Okay.
So we ran, and I think the $1 million question was asked to me 4 days after the launch by a young gentleman who I was trying to convince in Smooth to download the app and use it. He
Okay.
downloaded it, he used it, he loved it, he gifted it to his girlfriend, he gifted it to his mother, and then he turned around and asked me the $1 million question. Where is the buy button? I gift only once a month. There is no buy.
Oh, there's no buy button. Okay. Go on. Interesting.
That is when I said, okay, we got this wrong, because I had just left out 99% of the market for 1% of the market.
Okay.
And then I said, okay, we quickly took it back to the labs and we reworked it. And then we said, let's go ahead and make ourselves a more common generic visual discovery platform, because by then the technology was good enough for us to do discovery at multiple levels. So
Okay.
you could use and I said, why just food? Why not anything? I mean, I can click a picture of the shirt, for example, Monu, that you're wearing. And I identify that as a blue shirt with checks. And if there was a prominent logo, then I would identify that it's a Tommy Hilfiger or a Zodiac shirt.
Okay.
And I would automatically be able to send you to, let's say, a Flipkart, an Amazon, or a Myntra, and essentially show you the photograph of the shirt there, and you could buy it. Instant gratification. At the end of the day, millennials are all about instant gratification.
Absolutely.
And we went ahead, we did that. We signed up with Amazon, we signed up with Flipkart, we signed up with Myntra, and we signed up with Paytm.
Okay.
A conversation with Myntra more or less changed our destiny. So
Oh, really?
I and Umesh went to Myntra to talk about how they should become our fulfillment partner. And Myntra turned around and looked at this technology and said, guys, we have a better use for this. And we said, what do you mean? They said, listen, we have a huge problem in our warehouses. We get returns of up to 7% because the wrong product was shipped out.
Excellent. Okay.
When you ordered for a blue shirt, you got a black shirt, or you ordered for a white shoe, you got a brown shoe, and so on and so forth. And that is 7%. Now, 7% for an e-commerce retailer is 7% of 250 million. And
Wow.
reverse logistics costs are 10x that of onward logistics cost.
That I remember, because as you know, I was in a category of handbags online. We still are on the other side. we have a return of about 20-25%, small category, but 7% on this, and the returns costing is, like you said, almost 10 times. Logistics. Yeah, go on.
And as an e-commerce fulfillment center, you can imagine these centers are not small. They're 100,000 square feet plus 22
Huge.
feet vertical stacking, 60 to 100,000 products being inverted every day.
Correct.
Now, it's humanly impossible for you to do a multi-way match on the manufacturer's tag, the warehouse management system, the content management system. You can throw more and more people at it, but you will still end up with the same kind of issues because people just cannot cope with it. I mean, human beings, we have the world's best camera with our eyes, but we have an extremely lousy processor when it comes to our brain.
Okay. Yeah, that's true. Very
No,
true.
the reason is because human beings, by our very nature, are subjective, which is what makes us different to the rest of the animals in the animal kingdom. But there are certain tasks which require you to be 100% objective and consistent, which is something that we cannot do. And honestly, human beings are a degrading asset because from the age of 18 onwards, we start degrading. We don't essentially become better.
Okay. Good.
Imagine at the age of 24, your eyesight automatically starts stopping. So, I can put you at a 15-degree angle and tell you to look at an object and identify if it is black or white. And I can put you at a 30-degree angle and ask you to identify the same object as to whether it's black or white. You'll give me two different answers.
Correct.
That is just the way we are. We are not wired to be consistent. And so throwing humans at this problem is not going to solve your problem. That is also the reason, 50 years back, the reason why we find the countries like Japan, Germany, South Korea, Israel, synonymous with quality. And even the countries like US are not synonymous with quality because we have always felt it better to throw more people at the job with the hope that we will essentially, if one guy misses, the other guy will find.
Correct.
But the others figured that out a long time back. The countries that I named essentially started identifying issues consistently because they started using more and more technology into the process.
And you, excuse me, I think you use the word quality there. Very, 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 very key. Please go.
Absolutely. Yeah. At the end of the day, quality is the one thing that essentially affects the three most important tenets of a business. Customer satisfaction, top line, bottom line. It has a direct impact.
Okay.
It's a direct impact. Okay. So that is when we also said, oh my God, that is true. And if I can provide non-linear scalability, meaning if Myntra wanted to go from 90 million products per annum to 250 million products per annum, I don't need to throw any people at it. All I need is a rig. We provided a rig on which sits on top of their existing conveyor belt. As a product comes in, each and every product, we use a mixture of two technologies. One is OCR, but the difference in the OCR that we created was we created a classifier engine. Meaning if you put in, for example, your passport into my engine, it will first and foremost identify that it's a passport and only pick out the relevant information. Okay. Typically, OCR engines have been all about extraction of data. We made the extraction contingent on what has to be extracted. So we made it intelligent. And we got an IP on it. And we also use computer vision to identify patterns and colors and so on and so forth.
So you're talking about machines, or you're talking about these are cameras, machine systems to do the imaging, right?
These are essentially it's like a black box. Imagine a X-ray box, right? You go in and you essentially get all the data that you need relevant to from that X-ray machine. Also something similar. The product goes in. The only difference is that the throughput speed is 2 seconds per product. As it goes in, it does multi-way matches, figures it out, and it keeps pushing it out and goes into the right bin. So that is something that we did. And then suddenly, somewhere along the way, Ramesh Ramanathan from Artem and Venture Capital, we had a breakfast meeting with him, talking about food. We had
food comes again. That's very, very quite relevant. Instagram implied there's a food picture, and now food comes in. Go on.
So we were having breakfast with him, and Ramesh said, "This is fantastic, guys. What you guys have created is nothing short of amazing, but I will not be able to fund you because I need to see consistent revenues. Because by then, CAMCOM, the discovery platform, we had, if I'm not mistaken, close to about 80,000 downloads, and people were clicking pictures left, right, and center, but nobody was buying.
Okay.
Everybody was discovering, nobody was buying.
No. Okay. Okay. Okay.
And then he said, listen, you guys need to find a way to monetize this. And since we had already had a small start with Mintra in terms of providing a solution in a B2B space as opposed to a B2C space,
Okay.
when Ramesh told us this, he said, maybe one of the things that you guys need to figure out is how this can be applicable in a large vertical like insurance, for example.
Okay.
When he told us this, we said, okay, that makes sense. But we don't know anything about insurance. Not that we knew anything about warehousing in the first place.
Oh,
We said,
yeah.
let's figure out. So I called up a friend of mine who was an insurance agency in Kerala.
Mm-hmm.
He put me across to Digit Insurance, which is the online insurance company of Fairfax. I called up Digit. They loved it. The only problem is we don't have any claims because we just started underwriting.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. Yeah. You need to have a claim as an example for your product. Yeah. Okay.
So then I reached out to the same gentleman. He put us across to Bajaj Allianz, which is the second largest insurance company in India.
Okay.
And happenstance, Umesh was going to Pune to get the admission of his son at a university there. And Umesh dropped in to say hi to the guys at Bajaj. And they said, listen, guys, this is something that we have been looking out for the longest time, because the IRDAI, the Insurance Regulatory Development Authority of India, has now come back and told us that any claims below 50,000 rupees does not require an assessor, meaning it can be a self-inspection and a self-claim.
Mm-hmm.
But we cannot do that unless we have a technology enablement of that solution. And till those days, people were essentially using their mobile phones, clicking videos that would go to an insurance company. There, a bunch of guys were sitting in a BPO, manually looking at all these images and then coming to a conclusion with regards to what can be paid out, what cannot be paid out. There was no intelligence to that process.
Mm-hmm.
So they gave us, I think, close to about 1 million images of damaged cars.
Mm-hmm.
And we took all of that data. We started off by essentially doing it, the whole thing manually. We were sitting there and essentially annotating, saying, okay, this is a damage, this is a right quarter panel, this is the left quarter panel, this is the fender, this is the bonnet, and so on and so forth. Then we realized, okay, how do we make this better? We essentially taught the machine to self-annotate. Then we taught the machine to annotate and then subsequently recheck the annotation. Then we taught the machine how to create, why do you need so much of images? Create synthetic data. So based on whatever the machine had learned, it started creating its own data. And then it just went on and on. And then finally, machine learning is quite like humans. Machines learn like us. 0 to 70 is boom, we go straight up. And then we need to unlearn to relearn. Then we understand nuances. Machines are also like that. It hits an asymptotic curve, and then the incremental gains that you get is probably 1%, 2%, etc. Right? Because and India is obviously the best example of that. Unlike the rest of the countries in the world, when two cars are standing next to each other, the shadow of the car that is parked next to this will fall on the other one. There will be glares. There will be somebody's hand in the frame. Somebody is standing there showing this thing.
Correct.
So I started teaching we started teaching the systems exclusions, saying these are things that you need to exclude. Now you understand this is a glare. Now exclude the glare. It is not a damage. You see that is somebody's hand. It's got nothing to do with the car. So please make sure that you take it out of your logic.
So basically, of all the million images, like you said, you taught the machine to segregate and all that. Some of the images, they have just got glares and mishaps in the images. Nothing to do with the car. Okay.
Nothing to do with the car.
Okay. Great.
So, and funny enough, machine learning is all about inclusion learning. For the longest time, machine learning has all been about inclusion learning.
Okay.
We essentially turned it on its head and said, now today we have more IPs on our exclusion models than inclusion models.
Okay.
And because of which we essentially managed to incrementally bring our accuracy percentage based on a picture that is being provided by anybody using a mobile phone to 92.5%, which is the highest accuracy levels available today. I'm very happy to say that.
Very good. That's on a standard image of a specific whatever item. Okay.
Of an item. So, and we are the only computer vision company from India that won the I2I award from the government of Israel. The Israel is about 2 years ahead of the rest of the world when it comes to computer vision. And for us to win that award, and that one computer vision from the government of Israel, was in many ways a resounding endorsement of the baby steps that we had taken to essentially get to where we are.
Yeah.
And of course, in this part of the world, till 3 months back, I couldn't say that because they didn't have diplomatic ties. But now I suddenly realize that that award means a lot in this market.
And strangely, I mean, for the readers also, I think Dubai got into the tie-up with Israel only recently, like you said. Makes
3 months back.
3 months back. Makes
so
sense.
You're asking me what I was doing at GITEX. Actually, the booths right opposite mine, they're all from Israel. This is the first time that Israel has also come and become a part of GITEX.
Now, the natural organic question for you now is, why Dubai? You are could I use the word that the startup CAMCOM is now going global and Dubai would be a great location for it? Am I right on that, or you please enlighten us on? Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah. Go on.
So Mike was a US Special Forces veteran who subsequently went on to become the assistant commander of the Etna hook, hose, and ladder company. All fire departments in the United States are actually private firms.
Okay.
So the one that he was representing is called the Etna hook, hose, and ladder company. I knew him because of I used to when I was in the US, Michelle Zamboni. So Mark used to come home regularly and we used to have food and stuff like that. And Mark always used to tell me that, as a Special Forces veteran, he did 3 tours of Iraq and Afghanistan and he came out unscathed. Not even, he was telling me, I didn't even fall down.
Okay.
And one fine day, 4 years before, I get a call from Michelle in the middle of the night to tell me that he died. Why? Because he essentially went in to a DuPont factory in Wilmington without realizing that it was a chemical fire and that it was poisonous.
So
and I was like,
okay.
And I was like, you mean to tell me that the fire force of the United States did not have a sensor to tell them that there was poison-laden gas in the air? I mean, how on earth can even that happen? And here is a guy who used to tell me stories about the time that he was on the ground in Afghanistan and Iraq. He said, we never go in blind into battle. There is always a UAV on top, which is essentially giving us right recce details.
Okay.
And that is why we go in there and we don't essentially have so many casualties. I'm like, how on earth could something like this even happen? And then I started, looking at this whole thing again, subsequent to the creation of CAMCOM. And I said, there has to be a better way to do this. So I reached out to a former colleague of mine. He was my project manager when I was in Wipro for Wyndham Hotels in Texas.
Okay.
He subsequently went on to become the chief technology officer for the city of Dallas in Texas. And Air Vistara, the chief information officer of Air Vistara, Ravi, is a former colleague of mine from Wipro. He also happens to be one of the world's most better experts when it comes to drones or UAVs.
Oh, UAVs. Okay.
So I got speaking to both of them and I said, we need to find a way to do this better. Because again, data. I took all the data, I looked at it and said, this makes no sense. $16.5 billion is the amount of money that the US federal government spends on the 911 federal dispatch system. That is not even counting the money that the states and the cities and the counties spend. Is there a fall of the number of deaths compared to the amount of money that is being pumped in every year? No, the deaths only keep increasing. Are they better at essentially handling any of the situations because of the money that's being spent? No, they're not getting any better either.
Okay.
There has to be a better way to handle this. So I, got these guys together and said, listen, let's go ahead and create a solution. We need to figure out a way in which this can be done better. So you take a drone, you geofence it so that it can operate within a 5 square kilometer radius.
So you take a drone and geofence it. Is that the word you use?
Yeah. Yes, geofence it.
Okay.
Meaning it can operate only in that specific area.
Space.
It cannot go anywhere beyond that, right?
Okay.
The moment the 911 dispatch call goes, the lat long of the person who's making the call is automatically captured.
Mm-hmm.
That is how the 911 dispatch system knows from where the call originated.
Okay.
So when that lat long is being sent there, I want it to be sent to the nearest drone to that lat long.
Oh.
The drone automatically deploys.
Okay.
It will essentially have a camera which will feed live to the three emergency forces, and it will have all the sensors required to find out if it is a gas fire, electric fire, is it an explosion, is it a terrorist bomb, whatever it is. There are today everything of these can essentially be figured out using a sensor, because almost everything in this world leaves some kind of particle residue, and all it requires is a sensor good enough to figure out what that particle residue is.
Okay.
And since this data is going live from the drone, for example, as we talked about earlier, the gas explosion, then as these people are rushing to the spot, the policeman knows that he needs to stay 5 kilometers outside and create a perimeter so that nobody else goes in. The ambulance knows that they need to stay outside that perimeter. The fire force knows what to carry with them to put out that explosion. So everybody is responding as opposed to reacting.
Correct.
That is, which automatically brings down the number of lives that are unnecessarily lost. In addition to which, what is the single biggest problem post facto when an incident like this happens? Is everybody has to write up a report. Everybody is writing a report based on their perspectives, not on reality.
Okay.
Because they are essentially landing up there subsequent to, for example, the policeman, if the gas explosion lands up there, subsequent to the fire, putting out everything else.
Okay.
The fire has essentially reached there and done that. So all the three first responders write up reports. The coroner writes a report if there is a fatality or a casualty. Then there is a defendant and a plaintiff, of course. Then there is the whole insurance company that needs to pay out, and their own surveyors, etc., have to do postmortems. Then there is a court system that has to sit in arbitration. There is a government that now has to figure out that none of this happens again.
Okay.
Now, I am giving you a single source of truth.
Single source of? Truth.
That drone that went there has essentially beamed live what happened on ground zero. Each and every one of you will now only have to essentially depend on that single source of truth to write your reports. And as a matter of fact, why should you even write a report? AI can essentially write those reports for you.
It not only images the scene, it can write a report out.
Yeah, because I can see the images. I essentially teach my machines what is a report that a policeman has to provide? What is a report that a fire guy has to provide? Because I can do it better. Because all the sensors are on my system. I'm not subjective at all. I'm objective.
Correct.
I'm not biased. I have nothing to do. And most importantly, Monubhai, is think about the amount of time, effort, and money this will save. The court system will no longer have to sit on cases that will go on for 10 years, 20 years, because people couldn't agree with each other as to who was at fault. Here it's very clear who is at fault.
Right?
And you don't have to have insurance companies taking forever to pay out, because once the blame has essentially been ascertained, you essentially know which insurance company has to pay out. The government automatically brings down the amount of money that it requires for each and every one of these guys to write reports, then do post-mortem on reports, then appoint a committee to sit on the post-mortem of reports, then you appoint a high-power committee to look into what the committee wrote. All of that goes.
Because it's very interesting, because what you're saying, again, back to what you said earlier, the human factor is slowly eliminated. In a core competency like safety and disaster management. Am I right on that?
Absolutely. You hit it right on the head. I mean, that the objectivity that you need to bring and the consistency that you need to bring into an operation, while ensuring that human lives are safeguarded, while at the same time unnecessarily frittering away taxpayers' money.
Correct.
That is what got us into Area 2071.
Oh, okay. No. Okay. I got that. Yeah. Wow. So that was the model on safety and this thing with this drone UAV, right?
UAV.
Now, another question to you was, since I think I noticed, branding about motor garages, cars, insurance. I can understand that from what you said. And aviation, again, are we restricted to drones, or are we restricted to, do we do engineering? Because all planes come and land and then take off. So between the landing and the takeoff is where all the engineers come from my old. So where would you fit in there? Just asking.
No, 100%. Actually, it's a question that I asked myself. That is the reason why the airline solution came.
Okay. Okay, good one.
Actually, no. Actually, Umesh pointed this out first. So we are traveling. I don't remember exactly from where to where, and we're sitting at the airport, and every before every flight takes off, there is what is called a pre-flight check, which essentially has the captain, the first officer, and 3 members of the ground staff walking around the underbelly of the aircraft to figure out if there is anything wrong with it. And most of the time, they all they have is a maglite torch at best. They don't have anything else.
Yeah.
And we have been seeing this from the time I started flying. From the time I was a child, my father was an engineer in the airport in Chennai. So I've been more associated with the airports for a fairly long period of time.
Okay.
Of course, it never struck me till Umesh asked me the billion-dollar question: what exactly are these guys looking for? And what do they see?
Okay.
So, good question. Let's figure out. So we essentially called a pilot friend and we said, what is it that you guys are looking for? He said, we said, no, because prior to the aircraft is most vulnerable when it's taking off and landing.
Okay, correct.
In the air, it's not vulnerable. Now, typically, anything that happens to an aircraft, the underbody, the underbelly of the aircraft is also the most vulnerable part, right? A simple example is a Concorde. That small stone, which essentially ricocheted off the tarmac in France, essentially created a fuselage tear, which in turn blew up the Concorde. But just because the first time the stone hit it was not the reason why the fuselage tore. There was a problem there. There was some kind of a stress fracture that happened. The stone only aggravated it.
Yeah, aggravated it. Okay.
Yeah. So that means that fracture was there before, but people didn't see it.
Yeah.
But people didn't see it. So at the basic level, think about it, Monu. Average human being is about 5 feet 8 inches tall. The underbelly of an aircraft is 18 to 21 feet high. You're looking up like this. What the hell are you looking for?
Correct. Absolutely. Yeah.
And there is no audit trail. Think about it. After the Concorde went down, millions of dollars were spent trying to recreate the event, recreate and bring all those pieces together to try and figure out what exactly happened. Took 4 years, millions of dollars. But what if I had a 100% capture of the underbelly of the aircraft before it took off?
Correct. Perfect. No,
I would have known immediately what would have caused the problem. Yeah. So not only do we have the ability to create a visual audit trail, which essentially will subsequently eliminate, unnecessary loss of life. The business angle to that is today every aircraft goes into what is called scheduled preventive maintenance, meaning every 6 months or 9 months it goes into a scheduled preventive maintenance, irrespective of whether there's a problem with it or not.
Okay.
That's a very costly affair. It's a very costly affair.
Okay.
What if I could predict when you have to go in for preventive maintenance?
Oh, instead of scheduled, you can predict. Okay.
Exactly.
Okay.
Because at the end of the day, there is. So what Umesh did was he's a mechanical engineer.
Okay.
So his typical problem of attending to any problem is take a screwdriver and say, okay, where do I open it? So,
Okay.
He took a maglite, attached a camera to it, put a thermal scanner to it, and put a deflectometry projector onto it. Hooked it to a PDA, ran it through our AI engines, and as you walk, just hold the bloody torch up. Don't look up. Wow. Keep walking, and we will show you up to 50 microns if there is a problem. Is there a nut missing? Is there a fastener missing? Is there a rivet missing? Is there a stress fracture?
Up to 50 microns.
50
wow.
microns.
Wow.
That the problem with a solution like that is for the last 50 years, this is how the airline industry is run. And typically governments control the airline industry through the Directorate General of Civil Aviation across the world, or the US FAA. They hate it when we say that the people have not been doing their job all that very well.
Yeah, yeah, of course. Yeah, yeah, that I
So
can
there is a change that needs to happen in mindset.
mindset. Mhm.
And that takes time. But people are now beginning to understand when we tell them, listen, are you looking at the jobs of 5 people or are you looking at the lives of 300 people?
That
I
makes
mean,
sense. Correct.
economics.
Exactly. It's always people when you're talking. It's about people. The jobs for people
Exactly.
and loss of people. Great.
And technology in itself does not replace humans from what they're doing. There's an example that I tell people. In 1910, there were 0 cars and 100 million horse carts. In
Mhm.
1921, there were 100 million cars and 0 horse carts. Does that mean that every person who was riding a horse cart became an automobile driver? No.
No.
They
No.
figured out other ways to do things.
Exactly. Exactly. Correct.
Because everything brings with it opportunities. And every change in technology brings with it newer and newer profiles that people can essentially fill in.
Yeah.
So when people tell me that, oh, those ground engineers will do their job, they're essentially trying to do a job they are ill-equipped for. That
Exactly.
is not their job. You are
Yeah.
essentially expecting them to do something and then live with that guilt all their lives. Can you
Correct.
imagine the guilt of the person who did the underbody inspection of the Concorde?
On God. Yeah, yeah, yeah. The loss of life is seriously. Yeah, yeah. See, another thing, like you said, you're finding solutions using whatever general word is technology, but still, let us say you're moving cars. I'm just giving an example. Let's say India is manufacturing a lot of cars in the manufacturing plant, which is in Gujarat, and you have a delivery in deep south, so it's be transported through ships or aircrafts or roads. Now, the moment the car comes out of the factory and enters any mode of transport, has to come all the way and then out of the transport into the service station or whatever agency. Uh, do you have a solution for that with logistics?
Yes, as a matter of fact, we currently are in production with a company in India called Track One, who uses our technology for that. So that whole process that you mentioned is called finished vehicle logistics. They
Finished
it's
vehicle
a
logistics. Okay, great.
they are a specialized logistics arm which essentially transports vehicles across the world using
Mhm.
multimodal transport. So
Okay.
and every it's called RORO or roll on roll off.
Oh,
So what
roll.
happens? Yeah, when it leaves the plant, it rolls onto a truck. It
Mhm.
rolls off at a railhead or a port head or a airport head. From there,
Okay.
it rolls on to that. Then it rolls off. So at every point in this roll on roll off mode of transport, you need to
Mhm.
be able to identify and create what we call a digital passport. Think about it like a passport. If you are essentially creating a stamp saying, okay, when it came here, it was in good condition. When it came here, it was in good
Correct.
condition, and so on.
Correct.
Primarily to assign responsibility and liability in case there is any damage to the vehicle
Damage.
during the whole process. So
Okay.
we provide those solutions. Yes, as a matter of fact, in Dubai, one of the reasons why I'm here is because of Al Futtaim. Al Futtaim is the largest company that deals with
The
finished vehicle logistics and automotive in this space.
automotive industry. I remember Al Futtaim from many years. That name is very popular. I saw that on your. I think they were the last who came to your stall, right?
Yes, we were very honored. The vice chairman and chief executive officer of Al Futtaim, Omar Al Futtaim, he
Okay.
came by our stall and he was very interested in our solutions. We have been having discussions with them for a while. They have also been asking whether they would like to invest in us, which we have held off for some time.
Because you were always an intelligent guy. I mean, in the way that I look at intelligent guys, you were always an avid reader, which I know, and you recollect and you talk. This is off the topic, okay? This is off your topic. I'm just trying to be a daily brunch interview. And then you have traveled. You have traveled to what, 57, 58, 65, I don't know. But the difference between your travel then is you go to a country, you stay there for about 2 weeks, while other people just go there overnight, live out of a suitcase, something like that. But you are there. You know. Tell us something about the way you travel across so many countries. And what is it's your passion, I understand. But what is your take on that? Food, local culture, I don't know.
I have been very fortunate, Manubhai, in as far as travel is concerned, because almost there is no decision in my life which I have taken stating that I know what I'm doing is right. No, there was no such decision ever.
Okay. Okay.
I essentially kind of fell into things for whatever reason.
Okay.
When I moved into hospitality technology, and specifically so with Micros Fidelio, we were at a stage. I mean, in many ways, it was a cusp, right, of the whole hospitality and leisure boom that happened in the world from the
Absolutely.
90s to the 2000s. And there were hotels opening all over the world. And I just happened to be the right person at the right time in the right place.
Okay.
So in the case of Middle East, I mean, to give you a simple example, we talked about that earlier. Yemen.
Okay.
Yemen had two Taj hotels in 1996. There was the Taj Sheba and the Taj Sana. Capital is Sana. Sheba, as you very well know, is the mythical kingdom of the Queen of Sheba, who went to King David in the Bible.
Yeah.
So, and as you know, I'm a very avid history buff. So I love reading.
I know for the readers again. Yeah, of course, that's your passion. Like psephology, history is of course your passion. Yeah, go on. Interesting.
So these are places that I would give arm and a leg to visit and see. And because of which, and in those days, because of the fact that we used to take anywhere from 14 to 21 days to do these implementations, train people. And I was also training people on how to use these technologies, which essentially meant I made a lot of very good local friends to whom I could share these stories with. So in the case of Yemen, the Abdullah, so he was a guy who taught me how to chew khat. So khat is slightly...
What is khat? What is chew khat? I didn't understand.
What is like it's something like marijuana.
Sorry.
But it's a national pastime. It's like gutka. Actually, it's a national pastime.
Yeah, gutka. Yeah, right.
It has a slight hallucinogenic effect.
Okay.
And Yemen obviously is Hadramut. Hadramut is where the entire Arabic civilization flourished. Today, you look at some of the largest business houses in this part of the world. I mean, the most famous one, the Bin Laden. Bin Ladens are actually from Yemen. And so they have a civilization that goes back a very long way. And, I find it interesting to go to these places, speak to these people. And every country that I go to, I make it a point to ask the locals, where shouldn't I go? And they will tell me, these are the places you shouldn't go.
Where shouldn't I go? That's the key question. Yeah. Okay, go on.
In Australia, most people told me, do not go to Cabramatta, do not go to Redfern. So I asked why. And he said, Redfern is full of Aborigines. Shouldn't be the reason why you go there.
Correct.
The best didgeridoo music, the best food and drink, and the music scene in Sydney is in Redfern.
How do you say it again?
Redfern, F-E-R-N. Redfern.
Okay, great. Wow. Didgeridoo. Wow.
The best Vietnamese food and the cheapest Vietnamese food is in Cabramatta. The problem that Cabramatta has a bad reputation is because of the old Vietnamese gangs, the triads that used to operate there.
Yeah. Okay.
My take on that was, listen, none of these guys are going to harm a tourist because it's bad for their business. Okay. They don't want the entire weight of the law coming after them because they did something stupid with a tourist.
Exactly. Correct.
So I used to regularly frequent Cabramatta because I love that food. So,
wow.
I was also very lucky, actually. Syria, this is something, unfortunately, the country is in shambles now. Most people call Constantinople the gateway to Europe, or the country between Europe and Italy. I say no, it's Syria. You go to, I remember going there in 96, and I'm standing in the old Grand Souk, and there's a line. There's actually a line in the middle of the souk. And when you stand on that line and you look at both sides, you will see the Christian side and the Muslim side. And it is not that people are not crossing over, but just standing there and looking at each other, you will understand why this is a crossroad of civilization.
Oh, okay. Wow.
It's like going to Hampi, closing your eyes and imagining what it would have been at the zenith of the Vijayanagara Empire. Because, I did that the last time when I went there with Maya, my wife, and I was saying, just close your eyes and imagine. You look at the 4 temples that you see around you. One is built like a Balinese temple. That means some merchant from Bali or Southeast Asia came there and essentially created a temple there. On the other hand, you have something that is so uniquely Pallava, it could have only come from South India and from
Okay.
Tamil Nadu,
Okay.
most probably Tanjavur. And then on the other hand, you have the famous ones, which essentially looks as but much like any other Kannadiga temple, be it the Hoysaleshwara or the other temples.
Okay.
But then you turn around and you look, you will find these elephant stables.
Okay.
And so in those days, I was given to believe that the Vijayanagara kings did not particularly like Muslims. I turned around and looked at it. The best example of Indo-Saracenic architecture is on top of that elephant stable, a perfect dome.
Wow.
And that could not have been created by anybody other than a Muslim. So don't even for a minute tell me that they had something to do with it, because they did.
Yeah, they did. Okay, great. Anyway, I think we're coming to the end of the interview. Ajith, it's been an honor to have you, especially streaming in from Dubai. I know you're a busy guy. Daily Brunch and the readers wish you all the best for CAMCOM in drones. So maybe one day we will meet up in real life and have some great food.
I look forward to that, bhai. I look forward to that.
Thanks a lot, Ajith.
Thank you very much, bhai. You have a very good day. My best wishes and thanks to the Daily Brunch and its viewers. Thank you. Good day.
Thank you.